Just 1 second.
Now we're reading chapter 30, Genesis 30. Okay, we're continuing on with Jacob marries Laban's daughters. Okay, yes. In chapter 29, we read about Leah having 5 boys before Rachel had have any children. Okay, verse 30. When Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, she envied her sister. And she said to Jacob, "Give me children or I shall die." Verse 2, Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel. And she said, "Am I in the place of God, who has withheld from you the fruit of the womb?" Verse 3, then she said, "Here's my maid Bilhah. Go into her, that she may bear upon my knees, and even I may have children through her." Okay, so they didn't learn. She didn't learn from her grandma Sarah. Remember when her grandma Sarah did that with her maid, with Hagar, and that's how Ishmael came. And then that Rebecca's grandma Sarah, Rachel's grandma Sarah, did the same thing. Now Rachel's saying, "I don't have any kids. My sister Leah gave you 5 boys. Here, take my maid. Go have a son with her, and that's my son. That'll be my son." Okay, so that's what they did. So she gave him her maid Bilhah as a wife, and Jacob went to her. Verse 5. And Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son. Verse 6. Then Rachel said, "God has judged me and has also heard my voice and given me a son." Therefore, she called his name Dan. Okay? So this is the son that Jacob had with Rachel's maid was Dan. Verse 7. Rachel's maid Bilhah conceived again and bore Jacob a second son. Then Rachel said, "With mighty wrestlings I have wrestled with my sister and have prevailed." So she called his name Naphtali. Verse 9. When Leah saw that she had ceased bearing children, Leah had 5 kids and then she couldn't have kids anymore.
Who Leah?
So Leah got jealous. Okay, so this is all a result of Jacob and his mama Rebecca's foolishness with Esau. Okay, remember they tricked Isaac. Okay, and then because of that, Jacob got tricked by his uncle Laban. Okay, it's kind of karma, that's what happens. And then all these problems. Now these sisters are jealous of each other.
What sisters?
Leah and Rachel are jealous of each other. They're saying, "Oh, here, I want more kids, more boys." Leah's saying, "Oh, you had 2 boys now? Okay, here."
They're
Here.
sisters?
Yeah, they're sisters, baby. Okay?
Are they kind of foolish?
Yeah, they're being foolish, but
A
this is
little
what
bit.
Jacob brought on himself
Or a
by
lot.
tricking Esau.
A little bit or a lot?
They're foolish, just like we're all a little foolish.
A lot?
Yeah, like a medium amount. Like David, he made big mistakes, and then he said he was sorry. Okay,
Really,
these are people
really?
making real life mistakes.
No, really.
It's medium foolish, son. It's medium foolish, baby.
Really big.
Okay,
Is
baby.
it like that?
No, it's medium size. It's not super, super big. It's like we all make mistakes, and they're making mistakes. They're human beings, baby. Okay?
They're human beings.
Yes, they're human beings, and then we read about their mistakes, and then we can learn to be better people from their mistakes. Okay, that's the point. Not to point our fingers and say they're foolish. To say, hey, we shouldn't do that. We should just marry one wifey and just have one wifey. And if God doesn't give us kids right away, we keep trying with that one wifey. Okay, we don't take another wifey and say, oh, okay, now I have a boy. No, you just keep trying with that one wifey. Okay, it took us 8 years to have you, son. That's the point of these people, not to point at.
Dada, how many days is?
It took us 8 years to have you, son.
But how many days?
Okay, I don't know. 8 years times 365. Okay, but let's not get distracted. The point is, son, no more questions, baby. The point is, don't point your fingers and say, oh, this is super foolish or not foolish, okay? The point is, yes, that was foolish. Let's learn a lesson from that, okay? Let's not call them stupid for being foolish. They're human beings, okay? Their stories are in here so we can learn a lesson. Do you understand? That's the point, son.
365 days.
Oh, no, let's not get distracted with how many days, baby. Okay? Let's not get distracted. We'll do math lesson later. Okay? Okay? So what's the point about reading about these people's foolishness, son? Okay, I'm going to say it again. I want you to say it back to Dada. The point of reading about people's foolishness in the Bible is so we can learn their lessons and not repeat the same foolishness. Okay? So I'm going to ask you the question again. What's the point of reading about people's foolishness in the Bible? Don't copy them. Don't copy their foolishness.
I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, that's an outstanding answer, Ziki.
I'm just going to say that.
Okay. Verse 9. When.
What?
Okay. Follow along. Okay. Go to your Bible. Follow along. Your Bible's on the table. Go to the Bible. Follow along. Chapter 30, verse 9. When Leah said that she had ceased bearing children, she took her maid Zilpah and gave her to Jacob as a wife. Verse 10. Then Leah's maid Zilpah bore Jacob a son. Verse 11. And Leah said, good fortune. So she called his name Gad. Verse 12, Leah's maid Zilpah bore Jacob a second son. Verse 13, and Leah said, blessed am I, for the woman will be called blessed. So she called his name Asher. Verse 14, you start reading verse 14, son. Verse 14, chapter 30, verse 14. You need to always be following along, son. So you know right away you're ready to read.
Dada, I know.
Yeah. Come on.
Verse
14, son. Come on, start reading. Follow along after that.
24.
No, verse 14, son. No, don't just make up your own verses, son. It's very confusing, okay? We have the same Bible right now, okay? So let's get on the same page, okay? If I say verse 14, go to verse 14. Don't just make up your own what 14 is. Okay? So can you go to chapter 30, verse 14? Don't page through the Bible, son. Okay, just follow along with Dada. Come on. Yeah, don't page through, baby. I need you to start reading at verse 14.
I'm finding it. I'm just looking and looking and looking.
Okay, chapter 30, verse 14. I need you to follow along so you always know where we're at, son.
Chapter 30.
Son, this shouldn't be a revelation like, oh, we're on chapter 30. You need to follow along always, son.
Verse
14, son.
I will see here.
Okay, next time you don't follow along, 5 sentences, son.
I will. I need to get the red thing out.
No, don't get red things out, son.
No,
Start
yes.
reading at verse 14, please, son. Yeah, no red things. Just start reading at verse 14, please.
In the days of wheat harvest, Reuben went and found mandrakes in the field and
You skipped a line. And brought them. Don't
And
skip
brought
one.
them to
His
his mother. Why?
Leah. Okay? He found mandrakes. Okay, in the days of harvest, Reuben found mandrakes, the oldest son. And he brought him to his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, give me, I pray, some of your son's mandrakes. Verse 15. But she said to her, it is a small matter that you have taken away my husband. Would you take away my son's mandrakes also? Okay, so they're still fighting. After having like 10 sons between them, they're still fighting. Rachel said, then he may lie with you tonight for your son's mandrakes. Verse 16. When Jacob came from the field in the evening, Leah went out to meet him and said, you must come in to me, for I have hired you with your son's mandrakes. So he lay with her that night. Yes, Siki, what's your question, baby? You gotta follow along, son.
I need some scissors, please.
No, it's not time for scissor, baby.
I can't
No.
wait.
No.
But
Okay?
this-
Scissor or 10 sentence?
I
Okay.
have a question.
What's your question, baby? The only thing we should be doing right now is following along.
This is a long chapter.
Okay, so we need to read quick instead of wasting time like we're doing right now,
I
son.
need to.
Okay. I need you to go and read chapter 17 to get your focus back. That's the only thing you should be doing, son. You don't need scissors for anything right now. You need to focus.
Trade it.
Okay. Okay. If you read with angry voice, you're going to do 10 sentence, okay? So don't read with angry voice. Okay, read chapter 17. Okay, focus, baby. If you want to finish quick, let's finish, son. It's been 2 minutes to get you to read chapter 17, son. Okay? We could be done with the chapter by now. Leah.
She conceived and bore Jacob a fifth son.
So it was only 4 sons. So Levi was the 4th son, not the 5th. Now she has a 5th son. Okay?
Why?
Okay, because she convinced her sister, oh, I want to sleep with our husband tonight. And so Rebecca agreed. Okay, you share some of Reuben's foods, and you can do that. And then Leah got pregnant. God bless Leah.
Who got pregnant?
Leah did, son. And
Now
Leah,
they have 5 sons.
yeah, I thought it was 5 before. I thought Levi was her 5th, but no, Levi was her 4th. Okay, I lost count. Verse 18, Leah said, God has given me my hire because I gave my maid to my husband. So she called his name Ishkar.
Who's
Ishkar, that's Leah's 5th son. And then she had 2 other sons from her servant, okay?
Why?
Who are considered her sons too.
Why?
Because they were foolish, okay? Because they're fighting and they're saying, hey, they're having contests. Who can give Jacob more sons? Her and her sister, they're jealous of each other. Verse 19.
Is Jacob bad? He's saying that.
Ziki, again, son, the purpose is not to point fingers at these people. These are good people. Jacob's a good person, okay? He's one of the fathers of the Jewish religion, of our religion too, Christianity, okay? He did foolishness, and so the reason they wrote it down is so we can learn our lesson, so we don't repeat his mistakes. Can you start reading verse 19, son? Instead of playing with toys. It's not time to play with toys right now, son. Okay, start reading verse 19.
Okay. So I
Verse 19 said, and
and
Leah.
Leah conceived again, and she bore Jacob
A sixth son. Verse 20, then Leah said, God, yeah, a lot of sons, son. And God has endowed me with a good dowry. Now my husband will honor me, because I have bore him 6 sons. So she called his name Zebulun. 21. Afterwards, she bore a daughter and called her name Dinah. Yep. Verse 22. Then God remembered Rachel, and God hearkened to her and opened her womb. Verse 23. She conceived and bore a son and called and said, God has taken away my reproach. And she called his name Joseph, saying, may the Lord add to me another son. Jacob prospers, verse 25. When Rachel bore Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, send me away that I may go to my home and country. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served you, and let me go, for you know the service which I have given you. Verse 27, but Laban said to him, if you will allow me to say so, I have learned by divination that the Lord has blessed me because of you. 28, and your wages, and I will give it. Verse 29, Jacob said to him, you yourself know how I have served you, and how your cattle have fared with me. Verse 30, for you have had little before I came, and it has increased abundantly, and the Lord has blessed you wherever I turned. But now, when shall I provide for my own household also? Verse 31, he said, what shall I give you? Jacob said, you shall not give me anything. If you will do this for me, I will again feed your flock and keep it. Verse 32, let me pass through all your flock today, removing it from every speckled and spotted sheep, and every black lamb, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, and such shall be my wages. Verse 33, so my honesty will answer for me later. When you come to look into my wages with you, every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats and black among the lambs, if found with me, shall be counted stolen. Verse 34, Laban said, good, let it be as you have said. Verse 35, but that day Laban removed the he-goats that were striped and spotted, and all the she-goats that were speckled and spotted, every one that had white on it, every lamb that was black, and put them in charge of his sons. Verse 36, and he set a distance of these 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob. Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flock. Verse 37, then Jacob took fresh rods of poplar and almond and plane, and peeled white streaks in them, exposing the white of the rods. Verse 38, he set the rods which he had peeled in front of the flocks in the runos, that is, the watering troughs. There the flocks came to drink. And since they bred when they came to drink, verse 39, the flocks bred in front of the rods, so that the flocks brought forth striped, speckled, and spotted. Verse 40, and Jacob separated the lambs and set the faces of the flocks towards the striped, and all the black in the flock of Laban. And he put his own droves apart and did not put them with Laban's flock. Verse 41, whenever the stronger of the flock were breeding, Jacob laid the rods and the runels before the eyes of the flock, that they might breed among the rods. Verse 42, but the feebler of the flock, he did not lay them there. So their feebler were Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's. Verse 43, thus the man grew exceedingly rich and had large flocks, maidservants and manservants, and camels and donkeys. That's the end of verse 30. Ziki, do you have any question?
No.
Okay, that's the end. That's it. Or chapter 30.